Hi everyone, I'm Mimi Cantor. I'm the Customer Success Manager for Mass.gov. We are so happy that you were all able to make it to our first user group meeting, despite the crazy snowstorm that we all had last night, which also seems to be melting, which is a good thing. We are very much hoping that we put together a really cool, fun, interactive meeting for you, and we hope you enjoy it. We are also hoping to hear from you about all the things that you've been wondering about, what your burning questions are, and how we can help you a little bit more. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to go over some housekeeping things. Your feedback about this meeting very much counts because this is the first time that we've done something like this, and we really want to know if it goes all right. So there's inside your program, there's a survey for you to fill out. You can fill it out by hand today and hand it in, or you can click a link and fill it out online. But we would love to get that. We know you guys know how much we love data and surveys and feedback, so please do that. So what I'd love to do now is to get to the good stuff so that you stop listening to me. And our first presenter today is going to be Brian Hirsch, who's going to talk a little bit about digital services to kick things off. And then we'll get to our wonderful presenters.
I'm Brian Hirsch. I'm the Deputy Chief Digital Officer for the Commonwealth. For folks who don't know me, I oversee products and services in digital services in EOTS. So welcome. So excited to have you here for the first quarterly Mass.gov User Group meeting. Last time I spoke with many of you was at ConCon. And so I want to share a little bit about context in the backdrop of this meeting. After ConCon, we did an update for the governor and his cabinet. Shortly after that, we produced, I should say Adam Cogbill, produced the first ad hoc performance analytics report for the Mass.gov advisory board, which has representatives from every secretariat on it. And this quarter, we're working on making those more regular reports. So, with that increased visibility, I think you'll see in just a few slides why I really think that it's timely and even critical that we start having these kinds of meetings, more of these kinds of meetings, if we're going to keep delivering the quality of experiences that our constituents expect from Mass.gov. So, a few highlights from the cabinet updates. Everyone's seen this slide, so the cabinet also saw this slide before the Mass.gov re-platform happened. We know 80% of constituents interact with government online more than any other medium. We know there's a huge gap in the satisfaction they felt on our previous website and the basic satisfaction scores with the private sector websites they compare us to. And so the governor and the cabinet want to know, how's it going with the new Mass.gov a year into the new website, right? So we showed a few really fun slides. This shows the 12 months from when we went live to when we made this update to the cabinet. And you can see the steady increase in, these are 4C user satisfaction scores. And we hit all-time highs in 12 months that we were able to report at that cabinet meeting. So great work, huge testament to the great work of the people in this room. On the next slide, you can see a breakdown of those increased satisfaction scores on the new site versus the old site. So we can thumb wrestle about how scientific these categorizations are. But for what 4C considers all Mass.gov users, you see the score is 65. That's an increase in 11 satisfaction points. For recreation, even better. For my job, not quite as good, but also a major improvement. The advisory board update that's about to come out next month. Here's one that I think is really the best testament to all of the great work of the people in this room. So every single secretariat in the Commonwealth had its best month. So these are the scores in the CMS analytics dashboards, the scores that we've been coming up with and refining over time. So every single secretariat in the Commonwealth had its best month yet in terms of performance scores in December of 2018. So let me just pause there and ask you all to give each other a round of applause. So there's a huge amount of work that went into that. So that's really great. And there's so much that this slide doesn't tell. And we'll get to hear 5 of those great stories after I stop speaking in a minute. So great work here. So now I want to talk about why this is such a critical meeting, why making this into a quarterly meeting is such an important routine for us to kick off here. Fixing links and converting legacy pages is only going to get us so far. So the slide that I hoped to come next, watch the end of the lines. So do you see, not only was December every single secretariat's best month, in January, every single secretariat saw the scores go down. So actually what we saw was that traffic went up and the scores went down. So it's not just that traffic went up. If they had gone up in proportion to the pages that were being trafficked in December, the scores wouldn't have gone down. So what actually also happened was people started visiting pages that they weren't visiting in the same frequency in the previous month. And so we weren't paying attention to those pages. A lot of people were giving focus to pages that were currently getting the highest volume of traffic. And so we see people then visiting pages that we probably weren't giving as much attention to. So we went back and looked at the numbers. We learned that this is actually a trend. This happens every year in January, so it'll probably happen next January. And now that we know this, we can figure out how to do something about that before January hits. So back to this first point. Fixing links and converting legacy pages can only get us so far. Maybe we can squeeze some more lemonade from this lemon, but at some point, we've converted all the percussion pages, we fixed a lot of broken links, and maybe that'll help us with some of the dip that we saw this January, but that's not going to keep helping us close the gap in perpetuity. And you all know that better than most, right? So the next point here is creating a forum to share and replicate proven approaches. So the best way to make a really big impact is to look at somebody else who solved a really gnarly problem that you need to solve and do exactly what they did. We don't need to reinvent the wheel over and over and over again. All of our big creative insights and breakthroughs are happening ad hoc right now. The slide for December, showing the increase everywhere, there's so many untold stories behind those numbers. And so hopefully this meeting gives us a forum to start being really deliberate about sharing those stories and replicating those successes and insights. The next bullet, shifting more time and brain power to what we should do. So if you haven't noticed, the web analytics we provide in the CMS really only tell you what's not working, right? Broken links are really bad for user satisfaction. If you have to have a college degree to understand what the web page says, that's not awesome for user experience. So we can use web analytics today to tell us what's going wrong, but we're not really able today, and I don't know if we'll ever be able, but certainly not with the tools we have at this moment, to tell what's going right, what we should be doing. So this is a forum where we should be talking about what we should do, getting into some of those nuances and learning about what we should be doing to solve those hard problems. And then last but not least, shifting development and analytics from catch up to keep up. So when this replatform effort started, I was talking a lot about the replatform being about catching up and keeping up. So hopefully we're getting out of catch-up phase or closing out on the catch-up phase and really digging into keep up. So as we do more of sharing and replicating proven approaches, as we're talking more and more about what we should do, not just what we shouldn't do, the development that we prioritize in terms of feature requests that you all submit in the feature request queue, that should be following these insights about what we should be doing, what works. The work that we're doing on the analytics dashboards, more and more should be about leveraging the insights that are coming from all of you in your digital campaigns, your marketing campaigns, your improvements to the service families, and helping us figure out how to replicate for everyone that kind of visibility into what's working and what's not working. So with that, I'm really, really excited to kick off our first quarterly Mass.gov User Group meeting. I'm going to hand it off to Mimi. Thanks.
There we go. Ignite Talks. As we've sort of emailed out to everyone, Ignite Talks are kind of a fast and easy way to present a really, really compelling subject. And the Ignite Talks are meant to be 5 minutes with 20 slides that advance without the speaker advancing them, so they can really focus on saying what they need to say. So It's really fast and really cool and fun. And we have 5 very brave, very thoughtful individuals who have volunteered to be our inaugural speakers at this event. So first up is Michelle Corelli. Here she is.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Corelli. I am a web administrator at the Executive Office of the Trial Court. And my main job is to write, edit, and build courts content for Mass.gov, as well as for our internal website for court users, which is called Courtyard. Today, I want to talk about 18 court-approved Mass.gov quick tips. And I really wanted to focus on tips and tricks that we've learned along the way that we hope can also help other organizations improve their content too. So, to get started, tip number 1. If there's no specific contact for a service, link to a location listing page in your contact info. This helps point users to the correct person in the field where they can get help from somebody there instead. Tip number 2. Use the listing description field in documents to explain what each form is used for and when it was last revised. This helps users sift through long lists of forms, and it provides context for anyone who might not know what they're looking for. Tip number 3. Use your mosaics to highlight important content that can't be placed anywhere else on your org page. What we did is we found out which of our org's pages were the most popular, then we added any that weren't already featured on our org page to our mosaic. Tip number 4. Use the misspellings tab on Site Improve to find spelling and grammar errors in your pages. This has been really helpful for us since we have over 6,000 pages and we didn't have time to proof them manually. Tip number 5. Keep drafts of common alerts you might need so you can publish them quickly if need be for events like fires, snowstorms, or closings. Then all you need to do is edit the alert message and hit publish when the time comes to use it. It saves a lot of time. Tip number 6. Ask your coworkers who don't work on Mass.gov what they have trouble finding on the website to help improve your pages. This is especially helpful if both constituents and employees need to use resources on Mass.gov on a regular basis. And yes, that is my team. Tip number 7. Every few months, use the dashboard analytics to find out which of your services has the lowest satisfaction scores and then take some time to improve it. This is a manageable way to improve small chunks of your website at a time, even if you don't have a lot of time to devote to web content. Tip number 8. When filling in organizations under the Offered By heading on the back end of a page, add both the parent and child organization so people can find the page and search no matter which org they filter by. Tip number 9. Check for broken links on your pages once a week using Site Improve. This is a good way to catch unexpected broken links, which happens a lot to us if other organizations' content changes or gets deleted and we don't know about it. Tip number 10. Collect informational services that are step-by-step processes into binders so users can easily find and read them at a set. We do this with any of our court services that walk you through a full process but don't actually have any how-to pages in them. Tip number 11. Use a prefix specific to your organization in the file names of your documents so you can easily find and search for your own docs among other organizations' ones. We use the prefix JUD, and then we follow it with an abbreviation for whichever court it belongs to filter further. Tip number 12. If you're posting content in other languages, try to create the titles in both English and the foreign language. That way, users can find what they need in the language they're fluent in, and your employees can find what they need for those users. Tip number 13. If you need to make substantial changes to a page, create a copy of the page in Word or a Google Doc to edit it there first. That way you can keep track of your changes without accidentally publishing the new ones before they're ready. Tip number 14. If users are reporting having trouble finding your locations in person, take a look at the Google results for your location pages. We've found that sometimes Google displays out-of-date information about locations, which you can usually correct by suggesting an edit to Google. Tip 15. If you need to simplify complicated language or processes on a page, ask a subject matter expert to explain it to you in person. We found that this usually leads to a more organic, simplified explanation than if you'd done it via email. Tip 16. Anytime a new content type or feature comes out, take some time to explore the feature and how it works, and then decide if there are innovative ways you could use it to improve your content or convert existing content types to the new one. Tip number 17. If you find that there's information people are looking for on your pages that you don't provide, do the research and see if you can build it yourself. Our users were looking for laws about backyard chickens, so we built this page. And tip number 18, if you have locations that share buildings with other businesses or are hard to find from within the building, include instructions on how to find them from within the building on your location page. We do this with our law libraries, which are usually somewhere inside of courthouses. So those are all my court-approved quick tips, and I hope that these can help you improve your content in small ways for your end users as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, so my name is Michelle Leonard. I work at the Department of Public Health, supporting web and digital media, and I work a lot on Mass.gov. So we talk a lot about Mass.gov as a resource for services. This can be submitting a license, submitting forms, completing transactions. But at the Department of Public Health, as I imagine a lot of other agencies, our biggest resource is providing information. This can be information for families, information for health professionals, healthcare providers, and the general public. And in the communications office, one way we can help promote important information, reach our target audiences, and drive traffic to key web pages is to manage public health marketing campaigns. DPH creates campaigns on a range of topics, aiming to increase awareness and promote behavior change. Some examples are healthy exercise, opioid awareness, and problem gambling. A lot of our campaigns have one thing in common. They invite our target audiences to visit Mass.gov. As you can see here on our billboard for our opioid awareness campaign, it's a blurry photo that I took in my own neighborhood, actually. There is a call out to mass.gov/stopaddiction, which is one of our friendly URLs. Another one of our recent campaigns was a multi-agency effort to promote infant safe sleep, with the mission to provide families and healthcare professionals with tips and best practices to help keep a sleeping baby safe. These materials were displayed in multiple formats across Massachusetts. These were posters, ad placements on the T, and as well as digital and social media platforms. And a special fun fact is that each baby was actually an employee of DPH's child. So these materials promote the 3 most important tips recommended by healthcare professionals, which is to always place babies on their back, in their own crib, and away from smoking of any kind. The ads then invite you to visit mass.gov/safesleep to learn more, which is a nice and easy, friendly URL to remember. And we learned from analyzing some of our past campaigns that users weren't always clicking our service page buttons, and this was especially true for mobile users. So since this specific campaign targets parents and caregivers interested in certain childcare practices, we decided to send them straight to the information that they need. So our friendly URL directs here, which is an information detail page. And using this template, we were able to tease topics using the table of contents feature. And ideally, this would be a little shorter, but it does have some buzzwords. If people are quickly scanning this, they're able to find the section that they want more information on. And then we can provide all of the additional information in the body of the page using headers and then quick bullet points to give fast tips. And so with this information detail page, we saw an excellent rate of the time spent on page because it shoots them directly here and they're able to look and scroll through all of the information. And we were also able to accommodate the high rate of mobile visitors. As you can see in this graph, about 80% of traffic was driven by the mobile ads. So we could also use the information detail page to support a banner that connects your users back to the image that you saw in the campaign material that got you to come here. And also at the bottom, we were able to feature more materials that they would have seen, which is the video that was featured on social media, and then they can download the poster materials as well. So using Mass.gov as a marketing tool, we're able to keep our print and digital ads clean and simple, and then use the website to use for more extensive information. And we can also use the Mass.gov analytic tools to monitor our page traffic and view user feedback. That way we can continuously improve the page and get real-time responses from our users. So I would love to hear how everybody else uses Mass.gov to display their information and services. I know at the Department of Public Health, we use Mass.gov to serve all our constituents all over Massachusetts, including our smallest residents. And there's all three.
So show of hands, who has a real ID? Anybody? Not many, though. So what is real ID, right? Only a few people in here have one so far. So we're going to go over the campaign that we did last year to let everybody know about Real ID. So basically, it's the Real ID Act after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The law went into effect where everybody has to show a credential, either a real license or ID, or a passport to get on a plane. These are our two new cards. The star indicates a real ID. Not for federal ID indicates that it's a standard credential. So 5.5 million customers we have with an active license, permit, or ID. How do we let them know that they need to be re-ID'd? Well, we didn't want it to be like Black Friday, right? Where everybody comes rushing in on 3/26 thinking they have to get a real ID. So we had to come up with the Real ID campaign to let our customers know and our business partners. So we might have seen some of these items, billboards. We went into the movie theaters, gas toppers, standees, and then, of course, social media. And then for our business partners, for law enforcement, for example, we created posters so they could easily identify our new cards, and then emails to business partners letting them know. Now it comes to the website. We reached out to TSS saying, please help us. Help. How can we get the word out about Real ID? So what they helped us with, the first thing was a decision tree. We were the first ones to use that new content type, and it was a lot of iterations of the decision tree where customers would go in, answer yes and no questions to determine if they needed a Real ID or not, and when. So this is an example. All of the pages have this banner here, reminding customers, don't come in until 2020 if you don't have to get your new card. So this is last month's data, 31,000. Part of the communications is our license renewal reminder, tells folks to go to the page to use the tool. And again, analytics, we use 4 out of 4, pretty good, but user satisfaction's 2 out of 4. So we know we need a little improvement there. The other page type TSS helped us with is the guide page. We chose the guide page just because of the flexibility it has with the TOC, jumping you to the different sections you need to go to, and then the call-outs you saw. And then it lives on our home page, our org page right there as the top actions, so customers can easily get to the page. It's our second highest page visited with 171,000 last month. And again, using the analytics, 3 out of 5 for content quality and 4 out of 4, so that's pretty good. But as you know, you always want to monitor, edit, monitor, right? So we monitor CMS, we monitor the feedback we receive, we monitor site improve, and basic customers. Any questions? That went by way too quick.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Wonderly from MassDOT IT, and since I don't rebuild bridges for a living, I'm here today to talk about how MassDOT communicates with the public about our projects, including Longfellow Bridge. So whether it's Real ID, as Nancy just talked about, or healthcare initiative, or for us, a new roadway project, I think most of us communicate with the public about change, uncertainty, and maybe even a little disruption. So I don't think we at MassDOT do much different from what most of you do as far as communicating with the public, but we do it regularly on a weekly, even sometimes a daily basis. Right now, we've got over 24 projects online, and hard to believe it today, but spring is just around the corner. So how do we get from the beginning of a project to the end of a project, whether it's a project that's going to take a couple of months or years? We communicate, we use a lot of communication channels. We tie it all together on Mass.gov. How many people in the room know about the Longfellow Bridge project or were impacted by it? It was a pretty big project. Impacted thousands of people a day, drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists, and Red Line riders. It was 5 years of construction and a lot of communication. So what do we do when we communicate with the public? We hold public meetings. Sometimes we hold a lot of meetings. Sometimes we hold meetings all across the state. We include our Ledge Affairs team, the community, stakeholders, local officials, and the media. We use our social media. We tweet about a Facebook post. We post photos of a project. We have 115,000 Twitter followers. And we've also found out that a lot of our stakeholders use their social media to promote our projects. We also use a tool called Gov Delivery. It's an opt-in tool. People who are interested in a project can choose to receive emails from us. We send out meeting notices, construction advisories. For the Longfellow Bridge, we had 4,500 subscribers. This is a screenshot of a video on our YouTube channel. For some projects, we actually have videos. This was a construction animation that one of our construction partners produced for us. And we also create email addresses and, in some cases, phone numbers for projects. It allows constituents to reach out directly to project personnel. We try to keep project emails easy to remember. So in this case, Longfellow Bridge at DOT. So how do we tie it all together on Mass.gov? Well, we worked really closely with the Mass.gov team. We came up with a concept of using service family pages. MassDOT approved that, so we wrote some guides on how to use the templates. We came up with outlines on how to put content together for the templates. We even have a process that we use for how to build out a project, and then what to do when a project is over and we need to retire it. We start with service and info detail pages. We have a lot of information about projects. We came up with some standard page names about the project, construction advisories, that get updated on a weekly basis. We also have all those meetings that we have to promote. So we use events to do that. And then we use notices to promote upcoming meetings and also construction advisories. And all those meetings generate documents. So we have meeting agendas and presentations. We use curated lists to list those documents for the public after the meeting. We organize them by meeting date and sometimes topic. And then we have contact information. So the Gov Delivery sign up, the project email address, any phone numbers that we have. We roll all those up under contacts and make sure that people can easily find who they're looking for. And finally, there's the service page. So obviously there, we put links to videos, to social media, to all of our subpages, and to our contacts. Once a page goes live or a project goes live, we start to look at analytics to see how we're doing. Make sure that we're using the pages to the best ability that we can. We also look at feedback to make sure that we're giving people the information that they're looking for. We've also created a topic page where we've been able to organize all of our projects in one place. And we have a completed projects page. So for projects that have lasting interest from the public, like the Big Dig, we can put information out there even after the project is completed. That's what we're doing. Thanks for listening.
So my name is Peter Olenek. I'm Web Services Manager for DOR, and we focus on, at DOR, tax, child support, and local aid. So while we do collect money. We do also distribute it across different constituency base. And just here today to share a bit about our process and how we went through the migration. You know, perhaps maybe share with you about some of the tools, and particularly as it relates to Google Analytics and specifically as it relates to the actual plugin. And so brainstorming a bit about how we came to our final results, and perhaps share with you some of our best practices that we learned in hopes that maybe you can provide us with some best practices as well. About the migration in 2016 and 17, many of you remember, each agency was requested to identify key business content within their organization that needed to get brought over, right? So what is the key content that you need to bring in? And from that process, once you do identify it, we were tasked to rewrite it for 6th grade level. So as you can imagine, for us as a tax agency, rewriting content for 6th grade was a bit challenging, but we made it close. After we brought that content in, we had, at that time, 3 content types, right? How-to pages, service pages, and service detail pages. So in our case, we had over 30,000 files, right, from in the percussion systems. That's a lot of files to bring over. And how do you manage that, right? I mean, how do you bring it all in? I mean, you're having to like look at 30,000 files. Well, we did leverage Google Analytics a lot. In the process, though, as you can imagine with Google Analytics, there's just too much data too, right? You have page views, you have all this demographic search terms. So how do you really kind of decide for an organization as big as a DOR what's important? Well, in our case, we apply 2 workflows. The Google Analytic plugin, which is a free plugin, and we apply the 80-20 rule, which effectively says 80% effects come from 20% of the causes. And more specifically, as it relates to us, it was top 20% of our pages covered 80% of the traffic, right? So when we looked at the Google Analytics, we said, all right, let's look at really the top 20 and focus on that in hopes that that really is going to bring us the results. Now, the plugin is free, again, I mentioned that, and if you do have Google Analytics and you have a Google Analytics account, you could, in essence, download it and install it. You begin on your way. Now, the cool thing about it, it is real time in some cases. You can turn it on and off as needed, and so you know, not overwhelmed with the amount of data that you have. The greatest part for us, though, was the clicks. We're now able to actually see what links are actually top performers within our page, right? So what actually is important to us from the constituency base, as opposed to just, well, our initiatives say this. Fast forward to August 2018, the Information Foundation gave DOR a nod for its tax forms and instructions page, which was a pretty great thing, but we really wanted to look at what exactly in that prior page and the future page was key. We had already done Google Analytics in the old page, but we really did not monitor the open-ended feedback as much, right? So that was one of the challenges. How do we take the open-ended feedback? Well, after the migration, we took that page and streamlined it so that we were able to take the top-performing links, bring the top-performing links above, and clean up the page so that ultimately it's a lot easier on the eyes. Instead of just having a wall of links, you have a wall of links that are relevant to what the top 20% pages that folks are looking at. So again, you may be already using the Google plugin, which is great, and I'd love to hear your feedback on how you use it. But for us, using the feature that allows us to gauge which content is priority, which content isn't, which one's performing, has been a big help. So thank you.
So we have 4 different tables set up on the other side of the room. We're going to do some speed breakout sessions. This is kind of a new thing that we're developing as well. So each of the 4 stations has a different topic. Today's topics are analytics and analytics dashboards, content strategy as a second topic, Another topic is feature requests, and then another one is content types and content structure. And what we're going to do is in the first 15 minutes, you pick one of the stations, any one of the stations, and at 15 minutes, we're going to say, break, and then everybody go to the next station, and you can talk about that topic. The reason we did this was because we have heard in the past that people kind of missed getting to talk about things that they wanted to talk about. So we were hoping that all of you would have a chance to talk about a specific topic that you are interested in and be able to actually talk about anything.